Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss Summer House Martha's Vineyard, Season 1, Episode 3. And before we get started, let me just say that the way I'm about to clock everybody, because you guys all tried it. There was a good chunk of this episode where I was like, what am I watching right now? And Amir, I really have to get on you because the fact that you admitted that you were the one who put the dog clothes with the washcloths and towels, and you let Mariah and Bria get into it when you could have stopped this whole entire thing. I lost so much respect for you. I was like, really? But y'all, with all that being said, let's just jump right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we open up this episode where we left it off last week with Phil and Amir going at it. Now, mind you, Amir lets it be known that even though Phil is taller than him, he's not afraid of him. He's like, look, I was bullied back in the day. They bullied me for being biracial and being a nerd. And I'll be damned if, as a grown man, I'll be bullied now. Like, I'm not here for it. I said, let's take a shot every time Amir says that he's biracial. The same way that Jasmine has said that she's married and Black excellence 11 times. Let's also take a shot to how many times Amir says that he's half Black and half Lebanese. We get it. And that's no shade again. But I was like, we didn't forget Amir. We know that you're biracial. So we see Jordan say in her confessional that she's never met Phil in person. She only talked to him on the phone a few times, but she wanted to get to know him because Bria and Shanice are good friends with him. So at this point, Jordan walks downstairs and she goes to check on Phil. So she's like, hey Phil, what's going on? What day were you supposed to be here? Now, I have to be so honest with you. This conversation between Phil and Jordan was so dumb. Phil was making no sense. You know how aggressive Jordan is when she talks. So Phil's talking about he was supposed to be there the day before, but something happened, and then he jokes around saying that, yeah, I did a you-know-what in Nick's toilet. So Jordan's like, well, why did you do that? And he's talking about, because that was supposed to be my room. First of all, Phil, you got there on day 4. Everybody has already claimed their rooms. You are a +1. So because you are a +1, you don't get first choice on a room. Also, I don't care how badly you want a room, there are certain things that you should not be doing. And at your big age, doing that in someone else's toilet, how old are you? Even toddlers wouldn't do that. And you're a grown man acting so juvenile. Like, are you not embarrassed? So at this point, Phil is making no sense. He's talking about we need to be cursing out Bria. It's all her fault. Then he pulls out his last $100 bill out his pocket, talking about, I'm putting up cold hard cash. And I said, sweetheart, we all know that's your last $100 bill. Put that back in your pocket, please. We know you need it. And I wanted to know, why are you talking about I'm putting up cold hard cash? For what? At this point, I was really confused because now we see Shanice come down and Phil starts talking about he told Jordan she was cute. So of course Jordan gets lit. She's mocking him. And I guess he had cursed at her. So now she starts screaming at him and she's calling him a bitch. And she's like, I dare you to get in my face. I don't care. I don't care. You have security and production holding her back. And I was thinking, now, how did this conversation go from 0 to 100 like that? I didn't feel like what he said in that moment warranted Jordan's over-the-top reaction. I would have just walked away and paid Phil dust. I would not have started screaming at him and acting like I wanted to fight a grown man. But that's just me. So of course, after Jordan is cursing him out and acting like she wants to fight somebody, they all sit down to have a house meeting. Silas says, look, all in favor of Phil being kicked out the house, raise your hands. They all raise their hands. They're like, yeah, he needs to be out. So now Jasmine's like, whoever invited Phil needs to have that conversation with him and let him know that he will no longer be in this house. His services will no longer be needed. in the words of Shawnee O'Neal. So Bria's upset because, remember, she invited Phil. Phil is her good friend. And now she brings up that if Phil has to leave, then Mariah also has to leave because Mariah put her hands on her. So everybody's really torn because a lot of the house likes Mariah. They don't want her to go. But Jasmine's like, fair is fair. Now, here's my thing about this. Personally, I feel like Mariah and Bria should have had a conversation before it escalated to Mariah being kicked out. You guys know me, I'm not for violence, but I did not view their arguments to be on the same level as what Monique did to Candace on Potomac or what Portia has done on Atlanta. She didn't even really push her. She pretty much shoved the clothes back into her hands. And yes, that was putting her hands on her because she did touch her, but it wasn't like she pushed her. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just feel like Bria was definitely trying to get revenge by having Mariah kicked out. Mariah should have been given the option to state her case and also have a conversation with Bria and apologize to her versus her being automatically kicked out like that. Again, I might be wrong. You guys might disagree. That's fine. But I was surprised that Mariah was voted to be kicked out because I just didn't feel like what she did warranted that. It wasn't like she slapped her. And also, Bria's been very aggressive too, saying how she wants to slap everybody in the house and don't mess with her and how she's down to fight. So I'm just kind of like, girl, you know, you have your ways about you as well, sis. And you have been very irritating about the dog. And also, I feel like Mariah should not have been kicked out because, like I said earlier on, finding out that Amir was the one who mixed the dog clothes together, he could have diffused the whole thing immediately. And the whole argument between Bria and Mariah wouldn't have happened in the first place. So another reason why I feel kind of torn that Mariah was kicked out. But anyhow, they're all like, look, hate to see Mariah go, but fair is fair, and she's got to go. Jasmine's upset. She's stressed out because remember that Mariah is her best friend. They've been best friends for 12 years. So to have to kick her own best friend out of this house, that's going to be devastating. And she already knows that her and Mariah are going to be at odds because of this. So we see the Uber come and get Phil. Phil's walking out the house talking about, I could have done other things. I was like, bye, Phil. And how embarrassing for you that you were only in that house for what, 3 hours? And you were kicked out before sunrise. And not only that, you made the biggest ass of yourself. To defecate in someone else's toilet and then brag about it? I know your parents are ashamed. I know your whole entire friend group is laughing at you. Like, you really made a complete fool of yourself. And what was it all for? A free Uber ride there and back? Because you know that Bravo didn't pay you. You did all that for nothing. So Phil is out the house. Praise the Lord. Won't he do it?
Thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
And now we see Jasmine sitting Mariah down, and she's like, hey, girl, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but fair is fair, right is right, and the house does not want you here because of what you did to Bria. So Mariah's like, are you serious right now? You really think that I touched Bria? Is that what you're saying? And Jasmine's like, look, girl, I didn't see the whole entire fight. I wasn't there in the beginning. But they're all saying that you did put hands on her. So now it's the next morning and we see Mariah packing up her bags. And I have to admit, I did feel bad for her. I thought it was very telling that nobody went to check on her. And I thought it also was touching to see that Amir was the only one who wanted to see how she was doing. When he went to her room, he was like, hey, Mariah, how are you? I don't want you to leave. I feel bad. But, you know, give me a hug. And when she started crying in his arms, you could tell that she really was hurt. And I could understand that because you feel like you didn't get the chance to really explain yourself and she made a very rash decision because she was so angry and she's feeling like she's being kicked out unfairly. But I still feel like Mariah should have been afforded a bit of grace in that moment because Bria is not innocent at all. She has been a complete brat in regards to her dog. And then also, like I keep saying, finding out that Amir was the one behind all this, he could have stopped this whole thing and actually saved Mariah from having to leave the house. We see Bria in bed with Milo, and she's saying that last night was a lot. She can't believe that her best friend Phil embarrassed her like that because she's only ever known Phil to be a great friend and a great person. And I'm like, okay, Bria, I'm sure you knew that your friend was crazy. You didn't expect him to get like that, but I'm sure you knew that he wasn't all there. If you've known him for a long time, since you were in your early 20s, I'm just finding it hard to believe that you didn't know that your friend Phil could get real ratchet. Like, I'm just saying, I'm not buying this whole act about, oh, Phil embarrassed me. I had no idea. I'm not believing it. For some reason, I feel like Bria knew and she thought that, let me invite him because he'll make great TV and we'll be this great duo, but it backfired. And now you want to act like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I just can't believe him. He embarrassed me. I'm like, okay, again, I'm not buying it. I'm not. But we see Jasmine hugging Mariah. She's like, I know it doesn't feel good now, but it will be, and it will all make sense later on, and how she will always have her best friend's back. And then Mariah is over it. She's like, she's mourning her friendships right now, and she wants to be back home with her son anyway. So she's officially out the house, and Jasmine is so torn up about it that she starts crying. And let me just say, I really doubt that Jasmine and Mariah are still friends, because that has to be really painful and devastating to be kicked out by your best friend. A mess. I also thought it was messed up that as Mariah was leaving, nobody else came to see her and say bye. Like, they were all just watching her. I was like, wow, that's really shitty. And excuse my French, but I have to be honest, like, you guys don't have the decency to say bye to her. Like, I don't know. I was really surprised that Alex and Nick didn't say goodbye. I was like, oh, okay. But they're all getting ready for the day, and Jasmine, Silas, and I think it was Shanice in the kitchen and a few other people, and Amir walks in and he admits that he was the one who mixed up the dog clothes and the towels. And so they're all like, wait, what? Like, why didn't you say anything? And then Amir is like, well, they were too far gone in the argument, so I just stayed out of it. And I was so disgusted because, Amir, like I've been saying, you had the power to stop this whole entire argument. You had Mariah and Bria going at it when you were the one who started the whole entire thing. And I really hope that there's a reunion so that they tear you up for what you did. Because again, that was not right. And then you want to laugh about it? That's not funny. Jasmine had to kick her best friend out the house because of your mistake. You should have opened your mouth up a long time ago. And also, for you to sit back and watch that play out like that, Amir, it felt very cowardly of you. And it also got me angry because it reminded me of this last season of Girls Trip where Giselle accused Candace of stealing her tequila, and the whole time it was Heather and Whitney who stole it, and they sat back and watched Giselle place blame on Candace. That was really triggering to watch. Like, I don't know. I was just really irritated by that. And I said, Amir, if there is a reunion, you need to be cursed out.
And you're going to always get it again and again and again.
And in that moment, I would have said, Amir, let's go up to Bria's room and tell her what really happened. Then I would have called up Mariah and said, Mariah, come back to this house and stay. It was Amir's fault. He effed up the whole thing. So they're getting ready for the day, and they're going to be going to the beach to have a field day. So while they're all getting dressed, we see Alex in his room. He's doing some affirmations and some meditation. He says that he used to be an F-boy. He used to always screw girls over, but now he's changed. Now, I'm just being honest. Like I said in the first recap, a lot of these guys could be swapped out in my personal opinion. I think that Alex is boring. And that's no shade, but everybody does not have the personality to be on TV. I don't think that Alex brings a whole lot. Maybe he's going to bring it later on in the show, but right now I've been kind of bored. He's been a bit of a snooze. So now, as they're all leaving the house, we see Alex confront Shanice, and he's like, Shanice, personal space. So she's like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, last night you were grabbing me. I didn't like that. Personal space. So she's confused. Everybody else is confused. And now they all get in their cars. And Shanice is like, I'm so confused about Alex talking about personal space and how I was grabbing him. I don't even want to talk to him anymore. Now, here's my thing. I feel like if Alex had an issue with Shanice, he could have pulled her to the side privately. I felt like it was a bit petty of him to say that to her and low-key embarrass her in front of everybody. I understand you having boundaries. You didn't feel comfortable with her grabbing you at dinner, even if it wasn't a playful way. Okay, everybody's different. I get that. But I just feel like you could have addressed her privately. Like, I would have been pissed if I were Shanice, because don't try to embarrass me in front of all these folks. If you have an issue, address me in private. Don't try to embarrass me publicly. So I would have been pissed off at Alex too for that. And I also thought that Alex was doing too much in his confessional when he was like, well, technically Shanice is my type, but I've heard and read a lot of things about her, and I'm hesitant to want to get to know her. And when the producer asked him, well, what have you heard about her? And he was like, well, I don't really want to say. It's not for me to disclose. And I said, you already hinted that there's something wrong, so you might as well reveal it now. Don't give us those crumbs and then say, oh, well, I can't say anything. Either expose her all the way or keep it on the playground. But all that, oh, well, I mean, I heard this about her, but I don't want to say what it is. Like, okay, Alex. But when Shanice was talking about how she's a bit annoyed at Alex now, and then here goes Jordan. Shanice, if you're upset, you have to address it in the moment. Like, don't talk about it right now. And I'm like, Jordan, calm down. Why are you so angry? I said it in last week's recap, but Jordan always sounds like she's pissed off about something. She never sounds pleasant. She always sounds very bitchy and very annoyed. And I don't know if that's just how she speaks, but there's always that tinge of annoyance in her voice, like she just can't be bothered. I thought the conversation with the guys in the car was stupid. They were all talking about who they'd like. Of course, they're talking about Jordan. And then when Amir was bringing up how he was trying to go in the shower the night before, and Shanice came out and she came out topless, and he was like, look, I like Jordan. I don't want Shanice, but she was pretty much throwing it at me. Now, when they showed that clip of Shanice coming out topless and talking to Amir, I do get that impression that Shanice really craves male attention, because it did low-key feel a bit attention-seeking when she did that. And again, I'm all for being comfortable in your body and showing it off and being liberated, but it did feel like she wanted Amir to see what she was working with. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if she has a bit of a crush on him too. Like, I don't know. It felt a bit desperate. But even he was pointing it out, like, yeah, I was kind of confused by the whole thing. Like, girl, put a towel on. So now they're all trying to pry about Nick, and Nick's being really tight-lipped about who he likes in the house. He's talking about he has brother and sister vibes with Jordan. And even Amir's calling BS. He's like, bro, you know you like her. Don't even act like you don't. And in the first episode, Nick did say that he did like Jordan. And we saw that he was in Jordan's DMs for a whole year. So him saying, well, no, it's brother and sister vibes between us, that's a lie. So now Silas is curious, and he's like, well, if she threw it at you, Nick, would you want it? And he's talking about, no, like, no, I'm fine. I would pass. And they all call him out on the BS. So now Silas reveals that he has never seen Nick approach a woman. It's always been on some DMs, cloak and dagger stuff, and he's never seen his man actually approach a woman or pursue a woman in real life. So I was like, well, way to throw your friend under the bus and pretty much reveal to everybody that Nick has no game, that he's scared and he's corny. I was like, well, damn, I know Nick can't be too pleased that you said that. So now we see the producer asking Nick if there's something that he's not telling everybody. Nick is playing coy. And then you have Alex saying that Nick isn't being honest. Now, the way they were all talking about Nick and the way Nick was acting, it sort of felt like they were speculating about his sexuality. That's the impression that I got. So they all get to the famous Inkwell Beach, and you have Jasmine giving them a history lesson. And I said, Jasmine, girl, sit down because this is only your second summer in the Vineyard. The way Jasmine talks, she would have you to believe that she has always summered in Martha's Vineyard for years and years and years. And I was like, again, girl, sit down. And you saw how empty that beach was because like I told you guys in the last recap, they filmed this show in the off season after Labor Day. And that's no shade. But for next season, if there is a season 2, can you guys please film them in the peak season when everybody's there? I think that's another reason why the show feels a bit off because we're not seeing Martha's Vineyard when it's really lit. We're seeing it when everybody's gone. And I want to see it when all the people are there. Like how in the original Summer House, they film during the peak season. But anyways, I digress. So now they're having their field day. They're playing games. I think it was Team Nick and Team Jasmine. Not gonna hold you guys, this scene was a bit boring. I was definitely getting some water, getting some snacks at this point. Like, this really isn't that interesting. So now the field day is over and we see Shanice and Alex sitting down to talk. And Shanice says, look, Alex, I'm still confused. What did you mean by the whole personal space thing? Like, what did I do to you last night? Now, Alex, I don't know, production cut it to look like you were unresponsive. This is your time to clearly articulate yourself and say that you felt like a boundary had been crossed and you didn't do that. I was like, again, Alex is not bringing a whole lot to this show. Every time he's in a scene, I find myself yawning or I'm just like, okay. But I felt like Alex said a whole bunch of nothing. He was saying that sometimes he needs his space and that's not the energy that he wants. And I'm like, what? Was anybody else confused or just me? But I guess, you know, him and Shanice are in a better place now. They're cool. And now they can just go on and be cordial. Again, I didn't feel like anything got solved. But if they like it and they feel like it's been resolved, then who am I to say otherwise? Now, mind you, Alex finally reveals the news about Shanice and how the article was sent to him about she was dating this extra from Insecure and they broke up and he accused Shanice of stalking him. So we see Shanice explaining herself and she's like, well, I copped to some of the stuff. I did blow his phone up. I called him 18 times in a row and he had tried to get a restraining order out against me, but the judge blocked it. But yeah, it was a very drama-filled situation. Now, when I Googled the whole thing, only 2 blogs popped up. Media Takeout and BSO. But I was like, this wasn't any front page news. Alex was acting like it was plastered all over Page 6 and People and Gossip in the Shade Room. Shanice was dating a no-name. And we never knew who Shanice was, so it never really made any big time news. So for him to act like, well, I read all this stuff about her, you only read it from 2 blogs. And they only reported on it because it was a slow news day, apparently. And I don't remember who said it, but I think one of them said, yeah, it even made it to the Breakfast Club. I said, I highly doubt that the Breakfast Club was talking about an extra from Insecure breaking up with a woman that we've never heard about. So please, I said, let's not try to blow this up and make it more than what it is. And can I be so honest with you? It takes everything in me not to refer to Shanice as Ashley Darby Jr. because she looks so much like her. And she even has similar mannerisms too. But let me not talk about Potomac, okay? We're here to talk about Summer House, Martha's Vineyard. But now they all get back to the house and they're all cooking dinner. I loved how everybody was making a dish. Jordan's making mashed potatoes. Amir was making steaks. Preston was making mac and cheese. And I'm not even gonna hold you. My mouth was watering because that food looked good. I said, okay, you guys can definitely throw down in the kitchen, especially that mac and cheese that Preston made. But while they're eating dinner, they're all talking. Amir's asking when they leave. They're like, yeah, we leave next week. And so they all want to go to the club before they all go. So we see Nick saying that the guys should all go to one club and then the girls go to another club and then they meet at the end of the night. So Jasmine's like, yeah, that sounds good. You guys should have a boys' night, but what does boys' night entail? So of course the conversation flips to girls' night and what all goes down when they're all together. So Jordan, Jasmine, and Shanice are all joking around talking about when it's girls' night, it consists of throwing ass and twerking, getting drunk, and getting free drinks from guys. So of course, you have Silas getting upset, talking about no free drinks. Jasmine can buy her own drinks like she's married. And they're all like, what is wrong with a free drink? And I'm thinking, Silas, you sound extremely controlling and very insecure. Because just because your wife gets a free drink, it doesn't mean that she's going to go home with that man. It's a free drink. She's saving you money. Like, be happy. It's a win-win for everybody. You honestly should be upset if your woman can't get free drinks at a bar. It means she don't look that good. That's how I look at it. But I think that he's doing way too much. Again, I'm getting tired of hearing about this whole thing with Jasmine and Silas and their whole marital issues about she's married now and she can't do this, that, or the third. I thought it was funny when Jordan brought up, like, don't worry, Silas, we'll have her home before 3 a.m. And then Silas was like, well, Jordan, I thought that me and you were cool. I thought that we were back on a good page. And Jordan's like, I'm just poking fun at you, Silas. Like, calm down. It's not that deep. And I said, yeah, there's still some tension there because Silas still views Jordan as the party friend, the one who's up to no good. So of course he wouldn't find that joke to be funny. So now we have Silas saying that he spent every waking moment with Jasmine because they met at the height of the pandemic. So seeing her interact with her friends is still very new to him. Now, Silas, I'm sure you've had girlfriends before Jasmine. So for you to act confused talking about, well, seeing how she acts with her friends is new to me. The way Jasmine acts with her friends is how the vast majority of women act when they're out with their girlfriends. So I don't know why you're acting so surprised. What she's doing is nothing new. She's having a good time when she's with her girls. Why is that such a point of contention? I thought it was very telling when Jasmine and Silas went upstairs and they were all asking, like, what was Silas like before marriage? And Preston said, I don't see a change. He's always been like that. And then when Jordan said that she definitely sees a change in her friend, she was like, Jasmine is definitely struggling being married now. And that's really sad that Jasmine feels like she can't be her true self or her full self because of her husband. And she's trying to fit into this role of what he wants her to be. That's really alarming. And then we see Jasmine in her confessional and she says that marriage is bittersweet. And I was like, girl, you guys have been married for a very short time for you to be talking like this. It's only been 6 months. Shouldn't you guys be in the honeymoon stage? There shouldn't be any issues, right? No, yes. If you're newlywed, please comment down below. You guys should be in a state of bliss. Like, I would imagine. I love how a lot of you guys are married. And in last week's recap, when I asked you, is Jasmine doing too much? And you guys all said that Jasmine is doing the absolute most and she is making marriage her identity, and that's dangerous. And when married women are saying that, then you know it's bad. Jasmine, be yourself. Do not let this man force you into being somebody that you're not. If you have to hide and try to change yourself for him, it's going to fail. So here's where the conversation gets a bit weird. All of a sudden, Jordan starts questioning Nick. She's like, yeah, Nick, how's your love life? Like, what's going on? And Nick seemed really nervous, like he didn't want to talk about it. And so they're like, yeah, like, what's going on? You never talk about your dating life. So Nick says, well, my preference is black women. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of strange because that wasn't the question. The question was, how is your dating life going? Not, what's your preference of women? And I felt like him saying, well, I like black women. That's my preference. I just thought it was very strange. It felt like he was pandering. Like, I don't know. I was just kind of like, well, that didn't really answer her question, but okay. And now the episode ends with Nick revealing that he has a girlfriend. So they're all like, what the hell? Jordan's like, so you were sliding in my DMs for an entire year knowing that you have a girlfriend? Shanice is confused too. She's like, before we got on this trip, Nick DM'd me talking about he wanted to marry me. Why would you be out here acting like you're single, but yet you're taken? It's just really strange. I don't really believe that he has a girlfriend. I think that he's lying. Nick gives me very much, my girlfriend goes to another school. You know those kids in high school, they didn't have anybody and they would talk about, oh yeah, I do have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. They go to the next school though. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what that was giving. But y'all, that's where the episode ends. Now, in episode 4, we're going to be getting 2 more cast members, and I'm excited because I met and I talked to Jason a lot at the premiere party. He was very sweet, very kind, and I'm excited to see what he brings. And I think that he might be what we need because, again, a lot of the guys on this show are a bit boring. And I think that Jason is probably going to have the most personality besides Preston on this cast. But Preston is still my favorite. I'm going to need for these storylines to pick up. Us watching them at a field day on the beach, we can do a bit better than that. But y'all, that was my recap. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.